Probably housing, then a councillor, actually. But there's so much more to being a councillor than just housing. There's, it's all life is here. So it's an amazing privilege to be in this position. I mean, watershed moments. I mean, I mentioned being on the receiving end of an eviction. Makes you think about landlord-tenant relations, the pressures landlords are under as well, the where do I go now question, that thousands of people are in that situation right now in Southwark. Professional moments, I mean, I've been working on public policy in different guises, industrial policy, high streets, housing for quite a few years now. Key sort of special moments, I'd be sort of a bit lame to try and draw out some highlights when I'm in my mid-30s. Things that I think have been significant. There's lots of things I did when I was a kind of housing and strategy officer at Hackney Council that I was very proud of in terms of describing how we could expand and accelerate that house building programme and making a really strong pitch to government for all the resources and powers that we needed. I think in Southwark, creating the Great Estates programme, this new framework for how to think about, talk about, and make decisions about the future of our estates was really important, and getting that vision report through that described our approach to expand and enrich our estates was incredibly important. And I think right now, because of our starting point being constrained in terms of land, money, and delivery capacity, I always take a lot of pride in those sort of moments where we're able to unlock a new dimension of house building. So the work we've done with faith groups, the work we've done with community groups, certainly the rooftop programme. The river conversation is just a conversation at the minute, but there is a kind of clear path to doing some really interesting things and democratising use of the river, kickstarting the marine economy and bringing all kinds of community, recreational and potentially residential uses there as well. So these are some of the things that I would reflect on as significant.
Can you talk us a little bit through your career? I mean, what did you read at university, and where did that lead you?
I read social sciences in the University of Cambridge. So most of the interesting reading I did was after I left uni, to be honest. But I think it certainly kind of knocks your mind into shape a little bit. Cambridge is a weird place to do social sciences and to be thinking about society in general, because you're surrounded by jocks and people who haven't really grown up in a broader scheme of the real world, and you're surrounded by a kind of Harry Potter setting. So, but Cambridge is also, you go out of the city centre and you get to see the real world as well. There's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of inequality. The pattern of development there is highly contested, not just because of the World Heritage Conservation status of the city centre. That's my background there, but I think real reading and thinking happens before and after. If anything, my time at university was a bit of a distraction.
Did you come out of university and think, right, I'm going into local politics, or did you? What was the sort of path? No. I just wanted to do public policy work. That sounds really lame, but I wanted to be. I was acutely conscious that would have been back in 2006. I knew there was something deeply wrong with the economic model of the country, and in particular the way house price inflation was the only kind of national goal worth talking about when it came to housing. There was a little bit of decent homes investment, but not an awful lot of affordable house building. Certainly none delivered by councils, housing associations, the only game in town back then. So it's been kind of interesting having a continual interest in housing and see it slowly, albeit with a lag to reality, rise in terms of political agenda. And I think what's prompted me to just get involved locally, partly just, I love Southwark, I loved living in Bermondsey. It was sort of the happiest place I found myself in, and I didn't want to move. I haven't, I won't. But also just looking at this particular peculiar kind of cross-cutting moment in 2010 in Southwark, where nationally you had a Tory Lib Dem coalition take over power
from Labour and introduce austerity policies and cut affordable housing grant down to the bone. And then locally, you had a Tory Lib Dem coalition who had demolished almost 9,000 council homes, lose power, and Labour take over. But taking over in a context where the affordable housing grant was very minimal, there was a huge lag of investment in basic housing conditions. There wasn't even a housing department back then. And then some of the decisions that follow on from that, in particular, the well-known and still to this day controversial decisions around the Haygate estate, looking at that and thinking, how can I get involved and be part of the solution to tackling the housing crisis, trying to bring a few different perspectives to that conversation as well. And very fortunately, I'm pinching myself off the run I've had. I've been able to have that influence working with amazing colleagues. So that's kind of my peculiar route in.
Say I talk to you in 20 years' time, what would you hope your watershed moment would be then? What have you got a sort of grand ambition?
I'm not answering that. I want to build as many really high quality council homes as is possible. I don't think 20 years is the right time to judge. I always have an old man hat on, and I think, how is this going to play out in 40, 50 years' time? Because the key theme of council housing in Southwark is that there is a glorious tradition of land assembly and council house building that sits alongside an inglorious tradition where housing was not built to last more than 1 or 2 generations. So for me, it's about that wider experience of the community, of families who grow up in our neighbourhoods, the kind of job opportunities and skills development opportunities that they have. It goes far beyond just housing. And crucially, making sure that what we build is genuinely durable and manageable and will stand the test of time. 20 years will be far too early to know whether I've succeeded or not.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for answering our questions today. Viewers, if you'd like to see more of this interview, it's posted in 7 parts over 7 days at thevoiceofauthority.co.uk. The Voice of Authority presents the ambitions, the challenges, the values, the drivers, the motivations and the influences of key people at councils in their own words. This is where you find out what matters most to top people at the councils you want to do business with. The Voice of Authority is one of the channels created by 3Fox, the marketing agency for councils, to keep our network of councils, developers, investors and their advisors and influencers connected. Find out more about our channels and opportunities to participate in webinars, in interviews and other campaigns at www.3fox.co.uk.